you, I thank the grace of Heavenly Mother, compassion of Maitreya Buddha, Jigong Buddha, virtue of Patriarch, Sijun Simu, and Senior Master Li and Junior Master Li to allow me to have this opportunity to host this session. So today we are going to talk about chapter 28. Every time when I talk about Tao Te Ching, it's always a lot of excitement because Lao Tzu has a lot of message for us. And chapter 28, it can be very difficult to understand, but today we are going to learn and master chapter 28. So let's begin. The title is, some people say it's called Wu Fen, that means without division. But some scholar named this title as the eternal virtue. So we can look at this title as the way to achieve eternal virtue, or a title of Tao does not have any division. Chapter 28 seems like there's a lot, but we can group them into 3 sections. So here's the first section, here's the second section, and here's the third section. So Lao Tzu talk about eternal virtue from 3 different aspects. And then the last one is just the summary. So when you first look at it, you say, wow, it's first one, probably we understand masculine and feminine. Second one, white and black. Then we say, okay, probably I understand a little bit and I think I can grasp it. But third one, this one will throw most people off. So let's, it doesn't matter. So we will dive into it. Let me read chapter 28 to you. Maybe Robert can help to read chapter 28. Thank you, Robert.
Yes, I'm there. I'm okay.
Thank you.
Chapter 28, knowing the masculine and holding to the feminine is to be the creek of the world, to be regarded as the creek of the world, not departing from eternal virtue. One can return to the state of the infant. Knowing the white and holding to the black is to be a model for the world. Being a model for the world, the eternal virtue is without deviation, and one can return to the infinite. Knowing the glory and holding to humiliation is to be as a valley for the world. Being a valley for the world, the eternal virtue is sufficient. One can return to the state of plain timber. The plain timber can be distributed and be carved into vessels. The sages can master it, hence, and become leaders. Thus, the greatness can't be separated.
Thank you, Robert, for reading chapter 28 for us. Now let's look at the first verse. Knowing the masculine and holding the feminine is to be in the creek of the world. So a lot of us, we understand the masculine. Masculine is this Chinese word here. This 雄, 知其雄, 守其雌. 雄 is masculine, 雌 is feminine. So there's 3 things that we want to study here, which is the masculine, the feminine, and the creek. And how are these 3 things important for this verse? Let's look at this masculine. We can look at it in all this perspective. All this can be active, assertive, leading, creative, doing, planning, creation, boss, or giving. And here's the feminine force: passive, receptive, following, systematic, resting, doing, collaboration, employee, or receptive. So in life, there are times that we need to take charge. We need to be active. In the daytime, we are active. At nighttime, we are passive. And sometimes we are being given an assignment. Our mind need to be creative. And when we are creative, that means we are utilizing the masculine force. And after we have this creative idea, we have to follow through. And that follow through is the feminine force. Or we need to follow through. We need to follow what we plan out. So that's a systematic reinforcement. So this 2 kind of force, we have to do it together. We have to have a balance. We cannot only take one and lean on one and then skip the other one. Imagine when just doing a planning. Or imagine there's a boss and he just bossing around and he never bend down to the employee and then talk to the employee in the employee's level. I think in USA there's a program called the hidden boss. The boss go under. Oh, it's called the undercover boss. The boss go undercover, so the boss can understand how the company work, how the employee treat the customer. So a boss cannot always be the boss. The boss sometimes have to lower down his perspective, lower down his attitude, so that he understand how the employee feel. Christmas time is coming. We need to give, not just Christmas time. It's a Western culture that we give, but then we also need to receive too. We can see that these two forces cannot be divided. But most importantly, it's about which side do you take first? Because there are some time in the situation we need to take the feminine force. If our master in the temple tell us to do something, we say, yes, master, I will follow through. That will be you are using the feminine force, right? But then when I go home and I say, okay, what am I going to cook tonight? Then I have to be creative. Then I utilize the masculine force. So within each of human, we have this both force and just we jump between each one. But there are situations where we need to take the masculine force, and there are situations we need to take the feminine force. And here you can see this Superman is bowing down or bending down or being submersive. In a situation, sometimes we just have to play a submissive role. Not that we feel lower, but we want to do it as a voluntary. At home, when I prepare dinner, it looks like I am serving them, but I serve them with gratitude, with happiness. So when we exercise the feminine force, we have to do it with a positive mind, not like we are being forced. We playing a submissive role, but we are happy to play that role. Because if you are not happy playing the role, then that will defeat the purpose. When is the last time you were doing the work and you were doing the work systematically, but you say to yourself, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? But that's not what Lao Tzu say. Lao Tzu say we want to know we can be in the creative part, but at the same time, we want to hold the feminine force with gratitude. We know our role. We know the big picture, but we know we can maintain the feminine perspective. And if that's so, then we can be in the creek of the world. Creek here means gently flowing in the environment. It does not create any splash. It just flow through. You just follow the flow. And let's look at the creek. So there's a creek coming from this side, and then there's creek coming from this side. So eventually two creek is going to come down to a bigger creek. And when the numerous creek come down, it will create a bigger stream of creek, and it will eventually flow to the river. When you know the masculine and hold the feminine, you can be in a creek, not just one creek. It's going to be the creek of the world, because you can combine the creek from everybody, right? And when you can combine the creek from everybody, then you will have more friends to come to you, because you really know how to hold the feminine force. You play a submissive part. You are not showing pride. You are not arrogant. And you will have people come to you. But the most important thing is that if you do not depart from the eternal virtue, then you can return to the state of infant. When you hold a family part, there will be people come to you, and you will become so popular. But then when the arrogance come up, then you depart from the eternal virtue. So Lao Tzu say, not only we want to be in the creek of the world, we also want to stay on track of the eternal virtue. And with these two aspects being met, then you can return to the state of infant. Lao Tzu used infant a lot in Tao Te Ching. Infant, it's a term, it's a synonym for Tao. Okay, and next one is knowing the white and holding the black, holding to the black is to be the model for the world. Being a model for the world, the eternal virtue is without deviation, and one can return to the infinite. So in Chinese is 知其白,守其黑,为天下事。为天下事,常德不特,复归于无己. So we can look at this line as, if we can master this, we will become the model of the world. But being the model of the world is not enough. We have to perform the eternal virtue without deviation. So when these two are met, then you can return to the infinite. Now let's look at white. What is white and black here? It's very similar to earlier when we talked about the masculine and feminine. So Lao Tzu used to describe this in a different perspective. So white means bright, prospect, success, luminate, outlook. Say outlook in finance and career. Isn't this what everybody wants? We want to be happy. We want to have bright outlook for our finance. We want to look positive in our bank account, right? And here is black. What is black? Black is blemish. It refers to scarcity, lacking, shortage, and deficiency. Let's look at a perspective of white. What is white? We can also look at it as white. It's pursuing righteousness. Have we sometimes looked for things for perfection? And then we say, oh, I want perfection here. So then when you say, okay, in this area, I achieve a certain standard, and you use that achievement to look at others. And then what happened? This person is a fool. How can this person do such a mistake? And then we start to scrutinizing others. So this is white. We want white for us, and we demand white from others too. And you see this this image here. We have our expertise and knowledge in certain aspect, and we want to expect others to do the same too. But Lao Tzu saying, no, 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 you don't want to do that, because when you do that, all your friend is going to be scared away. They will be so fearful because you are a perfectionist, right? You demand certain things. You want to be safe. If you want to be safe, you want to stay in a dark place, just like the fish. If you want to show off, then you will be killed by the fisherman, right? So what is dark? What is black? Black means profound, unfathomable. You don't want to let people to see how much knowledge you have. You don't want to show. And the most important aspect that I want to express is that fish likes to stay in darkness, because that's one way to save your life. I have an uncle. He worked in an engineer firm, and everybody makes good salary. So one day, one of his friends did not get a raise, but he got a raise. But my uncle think that his coworker should also be raised too at the same time as him. So what does he do? He want to proclaim his judgment, right? He want to tell the boss that, hey, just to be fair, he have a meeting with the boss. I thank you for giving me a raise of $20. But my friend, our coworker, he can also do the same thing too. Why can't you raise him for the same money? You know what happened afterwards? He lose his raise. So sometimes you don't want to play smart. You just If you receive some benefit, that's fine. Just keep it quiet. And if you want to be outsmart than your boss, sometimes you will lose. Just like fish like to stay in darkness. There are times that we want to stay in darkness. This is like how we treat people. We know the white part. We know what is right, but we don't have to proclaim the righteousness. We don't have to proclaim the perfectionness. We don't have to proclaim our expertise. Hey, I'm right, you are wrong. So when we treat people, it's okay to close your eyes half. Here I have a picture of Buddha. Next time when we look at any Buddha or Bodhisattva, you can see that their eyes are 20% open, 80% closed. You will never see a Buddha, his eyes or her eyes is wide open. Even Jesus' eyes is like half closed. So this is a great example. We know the white. Buddha, Jesus, they know the white, but they just want to close halfway. Yeah. And also you can see his hand. So one hand is like pointed up. This represent the white. He proclaimed that he can connect to the white. But the other hand is down below because he wants to receive the people from the black part because the society, the people is living in chaos. If he hold both hands up, how can he reach people? So we have to learn like the Buddha. We are in the midst of this society. Sometimes we just have to play dumb or play like a fool. So we can look at chapter 20 as an example. In a chaos, people boast and brag, but I alone am dull. People are sharp and clever, and I alone am quiet. And here is a famous Confucius quote. The man who asks a question is a fool for a minute. The man who does not ask is a fool for life. There's a famous story about Confucius. So Confucius knows very much about performing the ritual. He knows how to do the incense offering. He knows how to do the fruit offering. He knows back and forth. But every time when he visit a new monastery, he always asks, "Oh, how do you do this? How do you do that?" Every time when you go to a monastery, he will ask. But he already knows so much. Why does he want to ask? Because he wants to know what other people do so that he can improve on himself. Or maybe he think that, oh, now the technology has gone advanced, maybe he's behind. So he want to make sure he is in the right level. Or he want to look at how other people do it so that he can learn from people. Right? So when is the last time you go to a new place and you say, "Oh, is this how you do it?" And then you listen to people and then you say, "Oh yeah, I do the same thing too." Or you say, "Oh, okay, I never done that." So, this is what Confucius' attitude is. Every time when he go to a place, although he knows, but he still asks, "Am I doing right?" So he just asks to confirm. He never show he's knowledgeable. He always start from the black side. Although we know the white, we have some background of the white, but we still hold the black. We want to ask. We don't go to a place and say, "Hey, I know this. Is this how you do it?" No, we never when we go to a new place, this is not how we talk. We will ask, "Is this how you do it?" But we don't start from ourselves. We start to ask people humbly. "Is this how you do it? May I ask, is this how you do it?" So here is a picture. You know, but you don't know. Have you heard this phrase? You know, but you pretend you don't know. So here is, you know the white, but you pretend you don't know. In other words, you are playing dumb. Go ahead, Robert.
You could also say, knowing the white and holding to the black, trying to not let the two extremes continue to expand, trying to bring harmony to the two opposites, so that your whole life is enhanced. If you let the extremes go crazy, it's like, this is what's happening in our time right now. We need, in these elections that we've had, we need to allow the other side, not fight the other side. If we were on the Harris side, we need to be open to the Trump side. If we were, both sides need to not continue to fight, but to give each other space. That's what this chapter really is about also, not letting these extremes, these opposites, hurt each other.
We do not want to know the white and hold the white. We want to hold the black. Yeah, just like what Robert mentioned, it's about tolerance, right? And if we can hold the black, we can be the model of the world. Being a model of the world, model means a standard, a benchmark, or like a universal law, right? So when we do that and practice virtue without deviation, then we can return to the infinite. So here, infinite is another synonym for Tao. Infinite means the origin. There's no boundary. So when we know the white and holding the black, we will have a lot of friends. So how do you make friends? If we want to make friends, just by holding to the black, just mingle with them. Do not show off what you have, but mingle with them. So when you mingle with them, holding the black, it's not to say that your friends are black, but just to combine your stream, combine your creek with their creek. And when we do that, we will have a lot of friends. And eventually we will be so popular. Being so popular, and if we can practice our eternal virtue without deviation, constantly practice Tao, cultivate Tao, we will be aligned with Tao. Then of course we will be able to return to Wuji, right? Return to the Tao. If you always try to pursue righteousness or brightness, and you won't be able to stand any blemish, then people who pursue perfection, they are going to have difficulty survive, or they are going to have difficulty finding happiness in their life. So why not just mingle with them? But the key is, before we mingle with them, we have to know the white. We have to know what is right. In this case, we know the principle of Tao, and then we put ourselves into the black. Then we can return to the infinite. Knowing the glory and holding to humiliation is to be the valley for the world. Being a valley for the world, the eternal virtue is sufficient. One can return to the state of plain timber. 知其荣，守其儒，为天下谷。为天下谷，常德乃足，不归于朴。So we know this very well. 荣, what is glory? Glory, here, glory, it's honor, applause, praise, compliment. So this is the bright side. For human nature, we want to be on the upper side. This is considered the upper hand. Who want to be in the lower hand? Nobody, right? Who want to be in the lower hand of humiliation? Humiliation, facing insult, facing criticism, or being gossip. We all have been in the center of gossip. Have we? I have. So who want to be in that position? Lao Tzu say, okay, you can be in this position, but Lao Tzu also want you to be okay in this position. This is the most terrible position human nature do not want to be. But Lao Tzu say, it's okay to hold it. If you can hold it, you can be in the valley of the world. Valley. Here, Lao Tzu talk about creek. Creek is, you can see it's a small river, right? But here, valley, you can see in the picture here, in the valley, in the water will encounter border. It will be encounter big rock. We will create big splash. And water in the valley, it's a bigger stream. It's considered a river. It's no longer a creek. It's no longer a stream of water flow. This is a big stream of water flow. So you see how the level of cultivation has become from a small creek to a big river. So from the early stage is that you know the masculine by holding the family will allow you to be in the creek. But now knowing the glory, but holding the humiliation, this part is it's very difficult to do. It's difficult to do. But how difficult is it? So you are being humiliated. You are facing insult. Who is right? Who is wrong? They are wrong. You are right. And you feel so humiliated. But so what? Your true nature, your Tao, it's still the same. You are just losing faces. So how important is the face? How important is this ego? In practice, we often talk about to get rid of our ego, to practice humbleness. So what is the best way to practice humbleness? What is the best way to get rid of our ego? Is to practice this, right? If we can be humiliated, if we can face insult, face criticism, and we can still feel okay, then that's the best way to practice reducing our ego. Jerome, you want to say something?
I think when you have honor, applause, praise, compliment, glory, those things, you have to be very, very careful when you're in that situation because you have a tendency to have a big ego and you get confused with that moment in your life. So not to think that you're better than anyone because of that. But most of the time I think that's most of the time what happens. People get lost when they have that increase their ego. And then on the other side, like that, the big test for you being honored, being applauded, being praised. So that's the big test for us. How that's gonna tell how humble we are. I think that's what it is. That's what's saying, right? Like, so humility is the way to go. You can have all those honor, applause, sometimes for something that you did that you accomplished, but you have to watch out for the other side, not to let your ego grow towards that, because I think gonna get lost on the way. And then humility. So that's what we need to have most of the time once you are in that position, that situation.
Yeah, thank you, Jerome. Yeah, so when we are in a favorable position, being honor and glory, it's difficult to practice Tao. So there is a saying in our Tao environment, if you are rich, if you hold a certain social status, it's very difficult to practice Tao because people look up to you and it's very difficult to stay humble if you are in a high position. So when you become the valley of the world compared to the creek, it's just the magnitude is much, much greater. And for you to practice eternal virtue, it will be more than adequate. It will be enough. It's sufficient. And your eternal virtue will be abundance. It will just keep coming and coming. It was going to make your eternal virtue more strong, more deep rooted. And one can return to the state of timber. Timber. What is timber? Timber is uncut, uncarved, and unprocessed timber, such as this. This is our original nature. If we say our table is made out of wood, but where is our table made out from? It's made out from this timber, right? So if we can hold the humiliation, but we must know the glory. In our society, we see a lot of people, they couldn't hold their humiliation. And they took out their gun, they took out their bullet, they took out their knife. Between husband and wife, between the workplace, or even between parents and child too. Sometimes our parents will say harsh words to the kids, and the kids cannot stand it. And things happen. Tragedy happen. So Lao Tzu say it's important that we know what we can do, but in the same time, we need to be able to take the humiliation. So it is okay to lose our face, to empty our ego, because sometimes that will be the only choice to have. And when we do that, there's one thing good, and that is we can be the valley of the world. So here, what does valley mean? Valley means endurance and acceptance. Just keep in mind, in the first stage, we have this creek, and now the creek become bigger. So valley definitely is talking about a greater accommodation, a greater tolerance. And Lao Tzu use pu a lot. Pu is plain wood. Nowadays, our furniture, even in my home, our furniture is not made out of plain wood. It's made out of synthetic wood. It's very difficult to find plain wood. But internally, this is what we want to return to. The plain timber can be distributed and carved into vessel. Tao must be utilized in order to be used. So if plain timber is so useful, how can we use it? We have to cut it out, right? We have to cut it out. We have to chop it out. We have to chisel. We have to polish it to do things. So same thing for us. We have Tao in us. We have to utilize it. How do we utilize it? Using our five senses, using our behavior, using our smile. Adrian is smiling at me because she's utilizing her sensation to show her that she appreciate me hosting the class. So sometimes if we have nothing to give, we just simply give a smile to bring people great energy. That will be called the plain timber can be distributed. Tao must be manifest in order to be used. So the sage can master it. The sage can master the plain timber, and then the sage can master the timber and then carve into vessel. But the sage is not a vessel. We are not a vessel. We know we are made out of the timber, but we know that we can make ourselves a great use. And that's why we are a great leader. We are all future sage, right? We are all future Buddha. We are all future Bodhisattva. We are all future angel. We can become leaders. What kind of leader would it be? The leader of spirituality, the leader of Tao. And the greatness cannot be separated. Our temple, say we have a different department, right? Right now there's an English class going on right here, and then there's a Chinese class going on, and then there's people cooking in the kitchen. So can we be divided? If we are divided, we will have no lunch to eat, right? If the kitchen are completely separated, who are they going to cook for? Nobody. We as a temple, we work together. just like a family. Just like a family. In my family, we have 4 cars. So sometimes if my car is break down, I have to drive my son's car. If my son's car is break down, he can drive my car. So we share cars. A family cannot be separated. Husband and wife cannot be separated. Mother and child cannot be separated. Our temple cannot be separated. Can Tao and De be separated? No. Let's look at this tree here. If we say the root is the Tao, the leaf and the branch is De, can they be separated? If they are separated, if the root is separate from the branch and the branch and the leaf will die. One day if we die, our soul will go on, but our body will perish. So which part is more important? If we cut down a tree, this part will be gone, right? But this part will be survived, right? So this is the same thing for our body. If we die, our body will perish. Our sensation will be all gone. But our Tao, our consciousness, our conscious will still be there. So this cannot be separated. While we are in this 3D dimension world, we cannot separate it. We cannot separate ourselves from our master. Our master cannot separate from us. Let's look at chapter 28 again. The eternal virtue or the Tao with 3 perspectives. 3 perspectives, and then here comes the summary. So one thing I want to point out to you is that Lao Tzu used masculine and feminine. We have to know the masculine. We have to know the white. We have to know the glory. But we have to also hold the feminine, the black, and the humiliation. And once we do that, we can be in the creek, we can be in the model, and we can be in the valley. And this is how we return to Tao. Lao Tzu used the metaphor of infant, and then Wuji as infinite and plain timber. Here it's just like a summary. So everything have 2 sides, the internal side and the external side. So the external side is this side, the masculine side, the white, how we treat people. We know we can do it. And the glory, this is the outside. But inside, internally, we have the feminine part, we have the black part and the humiliation. So this side is what most people desire. This side is what most people not desire. And Lao Tzu used the metaphor, the creek, the baby, the model, and the infinite, Wuji, the valley of the world, and the timber. So this is the internal metaphor. And this is the internal embodiment. So if we can practice this, we can reach our internal embodiment. So I have completed our session for chapter 28. And I want to say special thanks to the PPT editor, Robert M. Jenko, whom you met before. If mistakes were made or said during today's sharing, I ask the forgiveness from the Heavenly Mother, Buddha Maitreya, Jigong Buddha, Patriarch, Sizhun Simu, Grand Master, and Senior Master and Junior Master, and I thank your attendance here. Thank you so much.